like a billion. Oh, feel like I might jail on ya.
Hey guys, I'm back again with a new video. I wanted to do an intro like this because I didn't have time to set up, but this is part 2 of my crazy roommate slash suitemate story situation. So I hope you guys enjoy this video. Once again, don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, all of that. Thank you again for watching, taking time out of your day to watch it, and let's get started. See ya. Bye. Now we are going to be talking about still like fall semester slash winter of sophomore year. I forgot to mention, like, this story will be between like sophomore year and junior year because this is gonna be very important. So now we're still like in the fall, like November through January. That's the best way I can describe it of this story. So this is where it gets important. So I remember this was like November, or we were thinking of doing it like a Friendsgiving type of like celebration, and what had happened was it was like a weekend and it wasn't too bad outside, and we decided, but like my roommate Naomi decided to was gonna join Nancy and Sophia apartment hunting because a friend of theirs, like a mutual friend, was going to look at an apartment, so they wanted to join her. And I'm like, okay, have fun. Like, I mind my business. I like was working on an essay, and then I come back. Naomi comes back, and I'm like, oh, how's like the apartment looking with the mutual friend? And she's like, it was okay, it was pretty good. So I'm like, oh yeah, like, are you ever thinking about like, moving like off campus? And she, like, usually everyone's like, yeah, like, usually, like, I said it as a joke, but like, I really didn't care if she really wanted to move off campus. Not like, oh, I don't care. Like, it's like, at the end of the day, like, it's your choice. Like, if you want to stop being roommates, like, I'm cool with that. Like, oh no, like, I'm fine. But like, she got very defensive. I'm like, okay, that's kind of weird, but that was always at the back of my mind. Funny thing is, that same day when I mentioned that, something in my head was like, Naika, start looking at singles. Look at singles in the dorm. Have a plan B, which you're like thinking, why would you do that, right? We'll get into that. So then after that, like, then we would like have we'd have like a sweet dinner there. Nancy would talk about, oh my god guys, like, what do you think, like, what's your thought of living off campus next year? Are you guys like okay with that? Like, what do you think about junior year? Like, we should live off campus. Like, I think it's a good idea. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm not really a fan of it, because like it's like you have to spend a lot of money and like a lot of responsibilities. I feel like I wasn't ready, and like living on campus, I didn't have to worry about Wi-Fi, water. It was part of my like tuition, or like part of my scholarship as well. So I'm like, I don't really want to. I feel like that's still a lot of responsibilities, and yet at the time I didn't have a job, right? I feel like it doesn't make any sense to live in an apartment, to pay rent, do all this when I don't have a job at that time, right? So then after that, they like always talk about it, like, and like Monica was always like, like, but like it was always brought up, like, yeah, sure. When it was time to move out, I decided to leave early because I didn't have any exam that I needed to stay in. All I had was paper, so I decided to like just move like a few days early just so I can just be with my family. So then that happens, and then it's around December during like winter break, I get a text from Nancy. I'm like, oh, this is weird, like, this is interesting. She's like, hey, just thinking, like, are you thinking about moving off campus? Because everyone in the suite wants to move off campus, but like, we're waiting a decision for you. Like, you need to tell us like what you want to do. And I know it was always discussed, but it wasn't like confirmed. So I'm like, okay, I'm in my head, I'm like, that's cool, but like, I'm not ready, like, because at that time, like, I have my family, I need to have a discussion with them before doing anything, because it's like, if like I were to do it, we know, okay, this is where our plan is, you know what I mean? I need to kind of do something. I can't just live in an apartment next year without thinking about how this new plan will impact people who are around me, especially my family. So I was always like, girl, I'm not really thinking I can do that. Like, you know, that my scholarship, like, it's part of the room and board, and like, I don't think like it's best for me to like live off campus. Just like give me her reason. She's like, oh, and like I told her, like, especially like my family, and one thing about me, it's like, it's a cultural thing, not really, but like, she's something kind of irritating me. She's like, I told her, like, with my family, I don't think I should just tell them I'm moving off campus, and not because like, oh, like my family is Caribbean and strict. It's like, no, I had other responsibilities. I don't want to cause a headache for my mom and or for my aunt and for my grandma. That's not fair to them or to me. But she was like, oh, you're a young adult now, like what did they say, doesn't matter. I'm like, it's not because of what of them saying yes or no because of like just me living off campus, because no, like the dynamic I have with my family, like they support me and I support them, and I don't want to have any additional stress because that's my main priority other than school. But then she was like, oh, like live off campus, like it's better, blah, blah, blah. Like you're literally the only one everyone agreed to live off campus. I'm like, well, that's fine, I'm still going to live on campus, especially since like I don't like, this is what's part of the tuition. I'm not gonna live off campus. I will stay on campus in the dorm if I have to, even in a single. So then I was like, something is really fishy, but I'm like, you know what, I don't care if the whole suite hates me. I said what I said, I kept my mind. I was like, this was like me of like months of just being quiet. I was very like, this when I was very vocal, but I was like, I'm done, like this is where I draw the line. So then like a few months later I get a text from Monica, like, I'm like, oh, okay, like, hey Monica, how are you? Like, how you, like, what's up? And Monica was like, I'm good, girl, how you doing? Like, how's your vacation? I'm like, it's, you know, it's okay in New England. So then she was like, hey, did you happen to get a text from like Sophia about moving off campus? And I'm like, not Sophia, I got one from Nancy about moving off campus. And she was like, what did you say? I was like, I was very vocal, like, I have a scholarship, like, or that, but it's part of my tuition, I'm not gonna live off campus and all that, but I have other responsibilities that I cannot really be in the mental space to live off campus and pay rent. If that was the only option, I would, but if I have an option that's easier and smoother for everyone who is involved, including me, I'm gonna do what's best for me. She was like I said the same thing, like, it doesn't make sense for me to live off campus. Like, it's too much money, it's too much. But plus, like, it's a lot of like spending that I don't need to do when I could just live on campus when like a good chunk of stuff is covered. So I'm like, oh, okay. So I'm like, that's interesting. Why are they reaching out to us individually? I'm like, did you hear anything from Olivia? Like, did they reach out to Olivia? And she was like, something happened to Olivia. So they were like, this is fishy. This cannot be happening. They can't be doing this kind of sneaky game. Like, we're living together. If anything, we need to communicate to each other like as much as we can. So then I think it was either me or Monica who decided to say, let's do like a sweet meeting. So we decided to have a sweet meeting, and we were like, hey y'all, like, we know something was up, what's going on? And Nancy was like, yeah, so we're thinking about, we got an apartment, me, Naomi, and Sophia got an apartment because we just didn't know if you guys want to move in with us, but that's what we're thinking, this on the 3rd. And I'm like, I understand y'all have an apartment, do what you want to do, but we just wished like you guys could communicate without us beforehand. Like, if you guys want to live off campus, I'm not gonna force you to stay on campus. Like, do what you want to do, you guys are adults. But I just wished, especially Naomi as my roommate, you would have communicated that to me, saying, hey, I'm thinking about when I asked you to tell me no ahead of time. But luckily, like I said, y'all, always have a backup plan. And my gut, the way she answered gave me the answer that I needed to know. Was that night you need to start looking for a new single, and which I fortunately did. So when it came time to pick rooms again, I picked a single. Me, Monica, and Olivia figured out a plan. I was like, listen, y'all, we like this dorm. This dorm is quiet. Since we're in the higher grade, we have priority. We can just live on the first floor. We're still kind of living in a suite, but like everything's chill. And like, yeah, actually that's a good idea. So we decided to do that, and it worked out well for us. Like, we weren't mad at them because it's like you wanted to move out. We were just kind of confused, like, why didn't you just say that? Let us know ahead of time. This is what you guys wanted to do instead of doing that sneaky stuff, right? So that is like basically how like sophomore, like winter or fall ends. We end up being cool. Everything's okay. Everything's chill. So then junior year happens. And, you know, with us living in different places, like, it's, you know, we're not as close as we were. And especially with, like, the pandemic, things is being lifted. The advisory board is changing. Levels are changing. It's like people with vaccinations is out. So things are not as risky than it was before. So I'm in my single. Everything's cool. I ended up visiting their apartment, which was like literally across campus, which isn't too bad. It was a nice apartment, but we noticed we were getting distant. But it's like, I live with y'all. Like, even like we had our moments, but like we were still sweet mates. We still needed to be together. Everything was cool. Like, there was no reason. Like, we were not gonna end in a bad blood. Especially I did, because people were worried about me, how I reacted. I'm like, no, like, I don't have no energy for bad blood, right? So then it looks cool. Like, I don't hang out as much because I got busy. I started joining the club. That's when the whole club situation started, because it's like I'm putting my energy on that. So like, I don't even have time as much. Like, I was just, all of us were very busy junior year. Makes sense. So then now we're going into spring of junior year. So mind you, this is where like the height of the club drama is starting. For those who know, I did a whole separate story time about like me being part of club and my situation on that. And so then while that's happening, I'm still catching up with like Naomi, because she's still a roommate. Like, we're still gonna catch up, still having lunch, whatever. And that week I had like a birthday get together with some of my close friends at the school. I wish all my friends were there, but some of them were literally doing study abroad, like across the country, so like they couldn't be there. But like, for those who were able to be there, like, I was like, let's just get together, cut the cake, play some card games, and just be very chill. Especially like that week, like the club thing was going on, people were stressed, our school was hosting like this big event, cultural event. So I was like, let me just do something so I can treat my friends from all the things that's going on, and like, it makes sense. So then Naomi was invited, Nancy was invited, Sophia was invited, everyone was invited, for those who are my friends. Everything's going cool, and we're eating and getting together. Nancy and Naomi came late. I'm like, okay, like, everyone came on time, and one thing about me, like, okay, we know, like, okay, people, like, POC time, but it's like, no, like, when I say it's event starting at this time, I mean it, especially when it comes to, like, we're in an open space, we don't know people wanted to use it at a certain time. So when I said, like, 12 o'clock, I meant 12 o'clock, latest 12:15. I didn't mean, like, 1 o'clock, unless, like, you texted me and Nancy didn't tell me anything. They just showed up, like, an hour late. I'm like, okay, whatever, you know what, doesn't matter. I mean, as long as they're here, like, people were starting to eat, but like, they got some food, everyone was eating, playing music, catching up, talking. And next thing you know, we cut the cake, and it's time, like, I cut the cake, do a small speech, and like, everyone's enjoying the cake, and then I'm like, it's time to clean up and cut the cake. Everything is like, it's like 4:30. I think y'all are tired, and like, finals, exam, like, midterm week is coming up. So everyone was like, oh my god, yeah, Naika, like, let's help you clean, because I think different culture has different, like, each of us have come from many different walks of life. But I can speak, at least for me, especially growing up in a Caribbean household, it's like, if you attend someone's party and you are able to help clean up, you clean up. No matter if you throw away your plate, you clean your table clay, like, you help one way or another, especially at an event. I didn't expect that from my friends. I was expecting to just me clean up everything by myself. But literally all my friends were like, no, we're gonna help you clean up. Like, you literally brought us food, like, sit down. They were like, don't even get up, like, just sit and tell us what we do. So they were like grabbing the table, wiping the chairs, like wiping the tables, doing everything. Except for Naomi. And Naomi was helping a little bit, but Nancy did not. Nancy literally went to the bathroom, and then once everyone was done cleaning, she came back. And I was like, why is everyone else cleaning, like, but she's not here? I was like, I thought she went to the bathroom. She was like, came in the bathroom for that long. So then I was like, you bring up a good point. But I'm like, some people prefer not to clean, but I'm so grateful for those who were very supportive and wanted to help me and clean up. I know it's not a big deal, but it's like, it was a good vibe. People have fun, people ate well. Like, I like right for them. Like, I know it's weird, it's like the birthday's supposed to be like around, but like, I love taking care of my friends, like, because if you're my friend, I've always said this before, like, that means I care about you, and like, our relationship, we've worked hard for it to be where it is. So like, it's I find joy, like, spoiling my friends a little bit. Back to the story. So I'm like, you know what, okay, I'll take note of that, but whatever. Then a week later, we decided to hang out, and that week the BSU was hosting a beautiful, like, picnic garden, like, festival celebration with music and food. And my Naomi and Nancy were asking me, hey, are you planning on going? I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna go. I definitely want to go. I just don't know really who to go to, because my other close friend, who I mentioned in the story, who was part of the club situation and also who was part of BSU, I couldn't really hang out with her because she was in charge of the event. So I mean, she's gonna be busy all day. So then I was like, yeah, we can go. She was like, okay, so we'll see each other there. I'm like, yeah, sounds good. So the event comes and I see I see Nancy and Naomi. And we're talking. She's like, oh yeah, we'll meet you here. We'll sit with you. We're just gonna grab something to eat. I'm like, okay, so I'm sitting, because I don't like sitting in grass. There's like a nice shade. So I'm sitting down. They see where I am. They're sitting and they're grabbing food. I'm waiting. I'm sitting in the corner. I leave off a picture of it. I could find it. I'll see if I can try. I'll think about posting it. I don't know why. I don't know if I want to post it because it's a picture done by a professional, and I don't know if I have the rights to post it. But for those who explain the story, they've seen the picture. So then I'm sitting, waiting. I'm with like my orange sundress and like a blue hoodie, and like 10 minutes go by, I don't see them. 20 minutes go by. I know it was a bit of a line for food, but it wasn't that long. So then I'm like, you know, whatever. I'm still sitting. I'm on my phone. Like, I look like I'm like in the corner by myself. And other friends who I see, including Jonathan, they'll stop like, hey girl, like, how are you? Like, girl, you're by yourself? What's going on? Like, why are you sitting by yourself? Like, please join us. I'm like, oh, I'm waiting for friends. Like, if they said they're coming back for food, like, something in me deep down knew that wasn't the case, but I felt awkward, like, being in someone's like, one thing I feel like a burden a lot. Like, I'll be another video for this another time, but I feel like joining that circle of group, I would feel like a burden to them. So then I realized, okay, so 20 minutes go by, nothing. And then Jonathan came by. He was like, girl, why are you by yourself? Like, sit with me, because like he was also sitting nearby. He was like, are you okay? I'm like, yeah, I was just waiting for these two. He was like, how long have you been sitting like this? I was like, for a bit, like about an hour. I was like, that's kind of weird. So then an hour goes by. I'm like, let me text like to see where they are. And I'm texting them like, hey, where are you guys? And they're like, we're here. I'm like, okay, that's very helpful, because you guys said you were supposed to join me. So I'm like, you know what? Then I'm like, I'm not even gonna do more, because at that time I feel like I'm a burden. Like, if they really wanted me to sit with them, they would have texted like, where are you? We're here at this exact section. If not, we'll go look for you, right? So then I was side bit with Jonathan, but then he was like doing his business, so like he would like leave me for a bit. He's like, listen, I'm gonna be selling some stuff, but like if you need me, like I'm gonna check in with you for a couple times. Like he checked in on me for a couple times. A few of my other friends and like e-board members like, hey girl, why are you by yourself? Like, if you ever need someone to sit with, like I'm here. Like other people who I knew were like, listen, if you need someone to sit and bother, come to us. And like at the time I just felt like a bird. I didn't want to. I felt like I would make them uncomfortable. So then like 2 hours I'm heading out, and I'm walking out, and then my friend who was part of like hosting the event for BSU was like, hey, how are you enjoying yourself? I'm like, I'm okay. I'm like, did you get to eat? She's like, no. I'm like, okay, listen, I got this mac and cheese, I didn't touch it, eat something. She's like, oh, thank you. So then she was okay, as she's eating, she's like, what's going on? Like, how was the event? Like, what did you get to try? I'm like, girl, I was sitting in a corner for like 2 hours. Like, I was explaining to her what happened. She's like, yeah, that's not okay. Like, how can Nancy and Naomi leave you like that? Like, if they're going to plan on like sitting with you and they told you that. And like the funny thing is, like, I forgot to mention this. I did this test, and like this test was everything I needed to know, because as I texted them, I kind of saw where they were. But once again, if I'm seeing you not putting that effort, I'm not gonna walk up to you and be like, okay, like, hey guys, and be like that kind of annoying person. I want to text them, hey, where are you guys, to see how they react. I texted them, they looked at their phone, and then Nancy put it down, and then Naomi responded, oh yeah, we're here, and then put it down, and they continued talking with their new roommate. I was like, oh, I forgot to mention, because she was like not really an important character. So that from there, I was like, I saw everything that I needed to see. Y'all just was just like, people have been like, I need to see everything I need to see. This was like a sign, right? So then as I'm telling my friend from the BSU event like what's happening, she's like, I'm so sorry girl, I'm so sorry I didn't get to really enjoy the moment. I would have sat with you, but like I was like all over like trying to de-escalate things and like make sure everything was okay. I'm like, girl, I understand, like you were very busy, like I get that, like you're good. So then I decided to walk back to my dorm, And I am walking back to my dorm and I smell something really good, like something really sweet, it's really good, and it's Monica. She's baking. Monica loves to bake. I'm like, hey girl, what's up? She's like, I'm good, I'm baking. I'm baking for our movie night thing, because Monica was planning on having a movie night right after, just to have like a sweet catch up with like all the old suite mates being together in one place. And I was like, oh yeah, and I told her beforehand I was gonna go. And I told him, like, listen, something happened to me that was kind of crazy. I'll just tell you a brief summary. You'll learn more tonight, but I'm letting you know I will be calling out Naomi and Nancy out during the event. During, or like, I'm just letting you know that. She's like, okay, like, hope everything's okay. Like, I'm like, this is what happened. She's like, oh yeah, that's not good. So I'm like, if if I'm very distant and very quiet, just know why, because I'm planning to call them out. She was like, okay, I understand. So they were watching the movie. I'm very quiet. I'm keeping myself in the corner. I'm watching the movie, doing this and the third. And like 30 minutes in, I'm like, I can't keep this. I'm like, hey, Monica, can you pause the movie for a second? She's like, yeah, of course. And I'm like, listen, Nancy, Naomi, what you guys did today to me was very disrespectful. You guys said you're going to meet me at this place. Y'all made me sit by myself for 2 hours. People who I barely knew, even strangers, invited me to sit with them. But you, my friends who I lived with for a year, didn't show me any respect. I'm like, I've had people tell me, give you guys warning, and yet I still support you. I'm like, as like someone who I lived with, I'm like, you guys give them benefit of the doubt. Like, I don't think it's the right thing. Still, as a former suite mate of yours, still defend you. But yet, when it comes to being a good friend, you can't do that, which I don't think it's okay at all. And it's like, oh, but we're just making excuses. I'm like, stop. Just stop talking. I don't want to hear it. And I'm like, Monica, thank you so much for inviting me. I hate to ruin your event, but I'm heading out, because I feel like if I continue, I'm gonna ruin the whole event. I already have a little bit right now. I just want to say my piece. I don't want to hear anything. I'm not in the mood to hear anything. I will text you later on, Monica, just to catch up or to make up for it, but I'm heading out. So I headed out to my dorm, and then the night of, I get a text from Nancy and, you know, Naomi making excuses. I'm like, oh, we thought this and the third. I'm like, no. Any friend, if I were to be with any friend, find you a close friend of mine who I lived with, let's say if it was Monica, if I was at a festival or event and I see Monica by herself, I would have been like, even if I'm going to get food, I'm like, Monica, do you want to get food with me? And she's like, no, I don't want to. I'm like, okay, well, wait here. If you don't hear from me from 10 minutes, call me. But I will come back to you and we can sit down and eat. And Monica would have reached out when she heard me in 10 minutes. I'm like, oh, bad. Oh, my God. You're right. Here's an update. I'm still in line. But don't worry. I'm going to join you in a minute. You see how easy it is to communicate? And still be a good friend, and not make a friend feel left out. I don't understand how it was that hard, and that's why I've been seeing a lot of videos on YouTube saying it's hard for us Gen Z to make friends. It's like some people don't know how to be friends. I'm sorry, and I blame the pandemic, because I have another story time. It was something that happened to me in grad school. I briefly mentioned with the Montoya, like, people, when it comes to communication, like, it's been horrible, especially with the pandemic. But when you call them out on that, they get very defensive and say, oh, that's not true. Or like, it's always like, oh, this is how I am. It's like, no. If I'm your friend, you need to learn how to communicate. That's one thing that's one of my core values of friendship. I need friends who know how to communicate. And I mean by that, I'm not saying like, oh, answer my text like the second I send you a text. I get that. We're busy. I'm busy. I have a life. You have a life. But I should be able to at least text you and you'll be able to respond back as a friend. Or if I'm like going to an event, making sure, okay, you're my friend, especially my close friend, I'm gonna make sure you're not left out. We're in this event together. It's not that hard. Fortunately, the friends I have now will never even think about doing that, because like I said, I built a friendship with them and they know how I am and I know how they are. But you never, if you're leaving your friend out, especially someone your roommate, suitemate who you lived with, I don't consider you my friend anymore. I feel there's certain things like I let it slide, and like maybe like when I first was getting to know them, I let the whole comment and like me acting like the aggressor and me being distant was like, okay, I will be accountable for that. Like I did, was become distant instead of communicating my thing. But from there I learned and I explained my reasoning, and then ended up explaining and communicating and decided, okay, I want to work on myself. But it's like there's been numerous things y'all have done to me and other people, and it's like, okay, no change. And I get like, okay, it's hard for people to change, but it's like there's certain things you just need to communicate. For example, if you're living with someone, I think communication is key. Any form of communication. Updating the person, your roommate, need to communicate, especially living together in one roof. So just to tell you that, like, this story was for a lot of things, just to like kind of reflect on my experience. And like I'm cool with it, because like I need to experience that to kind of shape me the person I am. Like I'm not gonna be like, now I'm cool with it. Like at the moment I was very mad, but I'm like, okay, whatever, because it's like it's part of life. And if I needed to go through that experience for some reason, I don't know why, but like it was meant to happen, because we all go through stuff and we learn from it. But just went to this video to let you know, like, sometimes like you have a friend for a moment, or like sometimes your friends are really your friends, and it's important that you see the signs and you start taking notes on what they're doing to treat you. And like sometimes some people have certain criteria of a friendship. If they don't align, don't force yourself to be friends with that person, because that's not going to be a friendship. And I think you're going to feel uncomfortable. Like, I want to be very comfortable around my friends. I don't want to force myself for someone that I'm not, just to please the other person. And for them to end me treating me horrible. But just want to say, like, when it comes to roommate, like, it's common, just keep that separation. And like, if you're someone who's watching this and like you're living in a dorm, and you want to move out, but you don't want to know how to tell your roommate, just tell them. Because by not telling them that, it's going to cause friction and just cause even more. It's not going to be good. You want to do your part as a roommate just as you want them to do their part as a roommate. So communicating and being open, that's all you can do. Not too open, I'm not saying open like but like communicating the best you can as a roommate, out of respect for them, but out of respect for yourself. That's all you can do. Don't, and like, true friends come and go, but those who are true friends, like, they'll have your back. Because when that was happening, it was that, and the whole club thing. I'm like, yo, I'm done with people. But as I learned, like a year later, like senior year, like, just know, like, you have people who genuinely want to have a friendship with you and really care about you. Don't let that situation dictate, like, okay, like, I'm never gonna have friends, I'm never gonna have people who care about me. Like, trust me, you go through the experience so you can learn from them. Because if I were to say that every time I had a disagreement with a friend or falling out with a friend, I would have zero friends. In my head, I would feel like I had zero friends. But just know, like, that's not true. It's just like your experience with that person wasn't the best, but your experience with the next person could be great, or the same, or even worse. So just know that process. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I know it was yapping. That's all I do. It's just yap. Yeah, but I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and don't forget to subscribe again, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Oh, feel like